indeed. It is another feel-good Friday right here on Morning Cafe. My name is Freddy Ndimuli. Karibu sana. The 5th of December 2025, exactly 20 days left to Christmas. Maneno ya sherehe imeanza kidogo kidogo hapa, nikatu tunaserereka hivi kiasi. Yes, if you're counting down to the end of the year, it is exactly 26 days. Today's International Volunteer Day, and I'll be telling you more about that later on the show. Karibu sana. Let's take a look at the headlines this morning. Ruto betrayed you. That's the standard. We'll be back to take a look at who's saying what, when, why. Safaricom sale is another big story. 245 billion shilling goes to new roads and dams fund. That's on the Weekend Star. Taifa Leo, Oburu alivyorukwa ziarani Ikulu. Hata wachelewi wanaruka haraka sana. Same story on the front page of the Daily Nation. State House snub exposes ODM rift. What exactly are they talking about? We'll be back to take a look at that later. There's another interesting story. Police boss in brutal Gen Z crackdown moved in shake-up of top command. House in decline. This is one story that we've actually been talking about for the better part of this year. What's driving Kenya's parliament to lose credibility? It is one of the discussions we'll be having with my panelists today. Being a Friday, we'll be having young Kenyans in studio. And matters business, Treasury gives up 15 billion shillings in raise for Safaricom dividends. Well, that sale of Safaricom shares by the government is a big one. It is a big deal. And I've seen in one of the dailies, the former Budget and Appropriations Committee Chair Ndindi Nyoro criticizing apparent devaluation of the Safaricom shares ahead of the sale. As I said, being a Friday, we'll be having these young Kenyans in studio. Ben Gige, Virginia Wanjiru Githinji, James Mulamba, Tekin Saiko, Moses Nyanduga, Lynette Moke, Nick Mwangi, and Gakuna Njima Castro. I'll be telling you exactly who they are in a few minutes' time. Later on, as I told you, it is International Volunteer Day. We'll be having this discussion on International Year of Volunteers for Sustainable Development. Mesha Kodede, who's the National Chairperson, Volunteer Involving Organization Society Kenya, will be in studio alongside Dr. Lynette Ochuma, who's the Acting Secretary, Directorate of Social Development. That conversation will be coming your way at 8. Don't go anywhere. Tuvuke boda tuangalia wanaangazia masuala gani kule Uganda. And we start off with the Daily Monitor this morning. The big story there, of course, a plan to fire UEDCL. Top chiefs stopped. It's just matters administration, but their politics continues. And down here, for the first time, we see Kizza Besigye returning to the front pages. And they talk about Kizza Besigye having to spend a second Christmas in jail. Remember, he was abducted in Kenya last year. And he has been in detention from then till now. And it looks like he's likely to spend Christmas in detention as well. JUCO's 13-year rise and what her exit means is another story, business related, on the front page of this paper. Very little politics here on the front page of the Daily Monitor today. Remember, they're just counting down days to their next general elections. It was what features on the front page of the New Vision. Of course, half of the page reserved for President Yoweri Museveni. Kama kawaida in a sea of yellow as he continues with his campaigns. Wanasema, anyone who attacks Uganda will die, says Museveni. Iko hapo. But the big story there, Ugandan-made bus arrives in South Africa, and Kira Motors gets deal to supply 450 buses there. What's happening in the US, especially with the Rwanda-DRC peace deal, also features on the front page of this paper, and you can see the two presidents, Paul Kagame of Rwanda on one side, Felix Tshisekedi of DRC on the other, and Donald Trump in the middle. Remember, even our president, William Ruto, is there. Even the fourth president, Uhuru Kenyatta, who's part and parcel of this peace deal as well. They were present during the signing of that deal in Washington, D.C. yesterday. So those are the main stories in Uganda. Matters politics, kidogo kidogo hapa na pale. In Tanzania, what are they talking about? On the front page of The Citizen, industrial leaders urge government action to tackle bottlenecks. Tanzania's industrial leaders warn that systemic power and reliability and fierce regional competition are threatening to derail growth as government moves beyond promises and delivers world-class logistics. Anyway, but the big story, and this is a big discussion in Tanzania, it should be a big discussion in Kenya as well because we're getting into the holiday season. It is about transport. Familia nyingi zikijaribu kuenda mashinani ahead of the holidays, authorities act to ease shortage of buses amid surge in ticket scalping. You realize they're also talking about buses in Uganda. Ugandan-made buses arriving in South Africa. Now in Tanzania, it is a big story. Matters to do with transportation. It is the same story on the front page of Mwananchi. They have a problem here. It's about ulanguzi wa tiketi wa pamba moto. Wanasema mtandaoni mabasi yamejaa, tiketi zauzwa vituoni kwa kificho. Abiria walia gharama, wengine wakwama, LATRA yatoa suluhisho. Kuna wale wanafanya biashara wameanza kuuza tiketi za mabasi kwa magendo. Sasa hazipatikani. Basi zimejaa lakini hakuna ticket. Wanasema ulanguzi wa tiketi. I think the system in Kenya is a bit different. We don't have issues with ticketing, but it is a big story. So it also points to the fact that Tanzanians move on very fast from the kind of crisis they had. This past month they've been talking about, oh, we need to heal and move on from the events of our election and the protests. Therefore, now they're already talking about holiday travel. Walisha move on. Nyie mkipiga kelele, walisha songa. Masuala mengine ambayo yamepewa kipaumbele kwenye gazeti hili la Mwananchi, bei za vyakula, kasi ya ununuzi vyazidi kupaa nchini. Mahakama ilivyobaini Jamhuri kesi ya Mange. Huu ni mojawapo wa wale ambao walikuwa wanashinikiza waandamanaji. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili. Na Sheta atoa msimamo wa umea wake. Gazeti la Mwananchi, masuala ya DRC kule na Rwanda pia yamepewa kipaumbele kwenye ukurasa wa mbele gazeti hili. Wanasema Marekani kutathmini uhusiano na Tanzania. Right. Tutarejelea kuangazia magazeti ya hapa nchini kwa kina muda usiokuwa mrefu, lakini kwa sasa let's take a look at the weather situation across most regions of the country, and we start off in the eastern part of the country in Machakos this morning. It is 15 degrees this morning. They say it is a cloudy day. Rising temperatures being witnessed there, highs of 24 degrees. A bit of precipitation expected next week, but for now, they'll continue with the rising temperatures. 24 degrees the highs getting into the weekend, but by Tuesday next week, itakuwa imegonga 26 tukiendelea towards the holiday season. That's Machakos. Down south at the coast, today we focus on Kilifi, quite warm this morning at 26 degrees. It is also a very cloudy day there. Highs of 29 degrees, but this will rise over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, even Monday, and the entire of next week, the highs will be at 30 degrees. Thunderstorms expected later. Remember, the weatherman said that we're going to experience a dry December, dry January, and dry February, and parts of Northeastern are already reporting drought conditions. So warming temperatures, we can actually see the trend. In Nyahururu, which is usually quite chilly, and it sticks that way even today. 10 degrees this morning, promises to also be a cloudy day. Highs of 22 degrees, which is probably the lowest we'll see, and this will continue, even dropping further over the weekend. By Friday next week, watakuwa na clock 19 degrees, the highs in Nyahururu. So as the rest of the country records higher temperatures, in Nyahururu, it's dipping. The northern part of the country in Turkana, 26 degrees, which is more or less what we've seen at the coast as well. It is a cloudy day, but they say that the highs will go to as high as 34 degrees. Now, kidhani hiyo ndio joto zaidi. Kesho, 35. By Tuesday, Wednesday next week, 36 degrees. So that sticks to the trend of warming temperatures across the country. Central Rift Valley areas around Nakuru, it is quite chilly this morning at 11 degrees. It is also a cloudy day, and just like Nyahururu, highs of 23. Nakuru imekuaje lakini. But this will go higher. Once you get to Tuesday next week, it will go as high as 24 degrees. So not as hot in Nakuru. And finally, in Nairobi, 15 degrees Celsius this morning, a bit warmer than Nakuru. They say it's a cloudy day, highs of 26 degrees. 26 is actually very high for Nairobians. Hii utasikia joto. But it's likely to drop by Sunday, kidogo to 25 and 24 on Monday, but then goes back up significantly to 27 degrees. By Thursday next week, 28 degrees, which will be the highest we've seen this entire month. Even last month, I don't think Nairobi has hit 28 degrees. So yes, that trend of rising temperatures continues across the country. Let's come back and take a look at the traffic situation in Nairobi. Just like in Tanzania, there's a lot of holiday travel expected, and I'll be showing you just how this has affected traffic, especially in the CBD. Just like we saw yesterday, a lot of traffic centered around the Central Business District, areas around Machakos, bus station, Mudhurwa, pale Tea Room, pale kuna kuanga na zile mabasi za kwenda Mombasa. Na hata Luthuli Avenue, mbona hii inaleta maswala kama haya? Yes, so a lot of traffic around this part of the city. Haile Selassie Avenue around Marikiti, Landis Road, both sides of the road are busy this morning. This is where most of the buses to upcountry are located. So yes, a lot of holiday travel has already begun. Other tributaries into the CBD, Jogoo Road looking fine and green. Only pale Makadara na Shauri Moyo kama kawaida. There's a bit of red here at Manyanja interchange pale Donholm, lakini hiyo ni kawaida, not so bad. Even Outer Ring Road not looking bad at all, just a bit of traffic before you get to the interchange pale wanaita Taj Mall. After that, everything else is smooth. The only other problem, of course, this is not even a problem, is normal traffic for the Pangani interchange at this time of day, not so bad. Thika Road is looking green, Kiambu Road not bad. ABC Place into town, nothing to worry about. And even Mombasa Road into the CBD, hakuna shida all the way from the airport. So a lot of traffic, iko pale town because of holiday travel. And that's the traffic situation. Let's get a look at the quote of the day.
Live intentionally. Craft a life that reflects your heart. When passion meets purpose, you love every moment you're truly present.
All right, just a reminder that yes, at 6:30 we'll be having young Kenyans in studio to help us discuss the big headlines today, as we call it, the Youth Perspective this Friday. But before that, let's come back and take a look at the local dailies in depth. So this Friday, we had, I think this entire week we were talking about how the Standard had steered clear of political stories, especially after the by-elections of last week. But now you see the president's name back on the front page of the Standard, and they talk about Ruto betrayed you. The church has unleashed one of its most blistering attacks yet on President William Ruto's administration, accusing it of crushing the poor, betraying the youth, and dragging the nation into a deepening crisis. Now, in a searing statement, clerics warned that the country is a devastated nation, teetering on the edge with corruption, election manipulation, and economic despair fueling public anger like a ticking time bomb. This story is what is featuring on the spread on pages 4 and 5 of this paper. Not really pages 4 and 5. Ni kama wanatumisguide. Hii story iko huku ndani. It's on pages 6 and 7. Yeah, the NCCK say Ruto is toying with the youth future. Time to reclaim it is now. Rights groups also demand apology from IEBC for bungled mini polls. These are just some of the headlines we'll be looking at with the young Kenyans in studio. A quote from the NCCK chair there, anaitwa Elias Otieno, anasema this state is of despair and frustration which is driven by injustice is not sustainable. If the people of Kenya do not arise and rescue the nation, even the constitutional bonds that bind the nation together shall fall apart. This is a statement that they released yesterday, and they raised issue with the collapse of governance, economic hardship, and failure of services. Do you agree with the statement by the church leaders? Other stories here inside the pages that could be of interest to many people. On page 2, MPs now want DNA used to trace UK soldiers with Kenyan children. I'm sure if you go to a certain famous town after Nyeri pale before you get to Narumoru, you'll find so many children ambao hawajui baba zao. So MPs have now called for the collection of DNA data of all children fathered by soldiers of the British Army Training Units Kenya, known as Batuk. That will be very interesting. Right. On the back page of this paper, how are the 2026 World Cup favorites shaping up? And a look at the 2026 World Cup and the favorites, including Brazil, England, and Argentina. Who will be victorious? That's a Standard this morning. Move to the Weekend Star. And yes, as I told you earlier, that sale of government shares in Kenya's biggest telco company, Safaricom, continues to generate a lot of interest. It has been criticized by some, most notably the former chairperson of the Budget and Appropriations Committee of the National Assembly, Ndindi Nyoro, who says, yes, Treasury may sell, but they have grossly undervalued the shares of Safaricom at around 34 shillings per share before the sale. And it should be like, according to him, about 44 shillings or something like that. So the state has sold 15% of its shares in Telco and Safaricom to Vodafone, which is the mother company of Safaricom. And what this means. The story is on page 12 of this paper, The Star. You can grab yourself a copy of that. And we have a picture there on the front page of the National Treasury CS John Mbadi, the Attorney General Dorcas Oduor, and some of those who are buying these shares that were previously owned by the Kenyan government in Safaricom. So they're reducing significantly the stake that the Kenyan government has in Safaricom. It is a big story, and those funds now, according to the story, going towards Roads and Dams Fund. You remember that infrastructure fund that the president was talking about? There's one way of funding it. Other quick stories on the front page of the Star. Suicide may soon cease to be an offense as MPs consider new bill. This is a bill sponsored by Mathare MP Anthony Olwoch, seeking to decriminalize suicide. Currently, if you try to commit suicide, you end up in court, according to Kenyan law. Elsewhere, 3 killed, 6 hurt in Kakamega during protests over gold mining. That's an interesting story in Kakamega. Remember, there were, prospectus. Yeah, prospective discovery of gold worth about 648 billion shillings in Ikolomani. Now people are already fighting over it, and 3 people have already died. Sasa ukikufa hiyo gold itakusaidia namna gani? Anyway, these are some of the stories on the Weekend Star. Fresh, independent, different. Of course, being the Weekend Star, it comes with that Siasa pullout, where they're talking about the ex-deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, talking about king of political handball with his foot in his mouth. He's been accused of saying and making various controversial statements of late, which have caused quite some controversy. That's the Weekend Star. Taifa Leo, Oburu alivyorukwa ziarani Ikulu, wanasema duru zaeleza jinsi viongozi wa ngazi ya juu ndani ya ODM walivyosusia mwaliko wa Rais Ruto katika Ikulu. So ni mpasuko. Hatua ya viongozi wa ODM wakijumuisha maseneta Sifuna na Osotsi na magavana Wanga na Abdul Swamad kukosa kuandamana na Oburu ambaye ni kiongozi wa chama hicho hadi Ikulu yazua maswali kuhusu mmoja wa chama hicho. Habari kamili kwenye ukurasa wa pili. Ilikuwa ni hafla ya kuwakaribisha wabunge wapya waliochaguliwa kwenye uchaguzi ndogo wa wiki jana, lakini ni kama wengi wa viongozi wa chama cha ODM walisusia, lakini kiongozi wa chama hicho Oburu Odinga alikuwepo pale Ikulu. Sasa wanazungumzia mpasuko kwenye ODM. Vidokezo zaidi. Nyaribo, gavana wa Nyamira, alivyoponea kung'olewa. Kwingineko, Bungei alilaumiwa na Gen Z ahamishwa, huyo ni askari polisi. Na kwingineko, masuala ya SHA, walimu walichezewa shere, ni swali tu pale. Pale juu timu kubwa yazungumziwa hapa, Arsenal ndio juu ya meza. Sijui anazungumzia timu zingine ndogo ndogo kama Liverpool na Chelsea, lakini wanasema ni hoi. Liverpool, Chelsea ni hoi. Arsenal ni juu. Gunners yapanua pengo la alama 5 kileleni baada ya ushindi ligini EPL, na watazidi kupanua alama hizo. Na juhudi za kumwokoa Gachagua zafichuliwa, aeleza jinsi Ruku na Kindiki walivyomshauri astimuliwe. Siasa tu zaidi pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Habari ile ya ODM ndio inapewa kipaumbele kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Daily Nation. Unfortunately, I do not have a physical copy. Being a Friday, I think ule supplier wetu ni kama ameingia mitini. Lakini State House snub exposes ODM rift. So the ruling outfit and Orange Party are reviewing their Cooperation Act. Kwani kumekuwa ngumu aje? And you can see a picture there of the president welcoming the new MP from Mbeere North, newly elected, anaitwa Leonard wa Muthende. Na pale the ODM party leader Oburu Oginga looking on. So they talk of an ease. It was meant to be a victory parade at State House for the broad-based government parties or even partners following the exploits in the recent by-elections, which we'll be discussing with the youth panelists this morning. President Ruto rolled out the red carpet for the newly elected UDA and ODM lawmakers, flanked by the ruling outfit, leaders and the Orange Party bosses, with the exception of party leader Oburu Oginga. All the Orange Democratic Party bosses were no-show. It has since emerged the other officials deliberately skipped the ceremony. Deliberately. Sio mimi nimesema ni gazeti. MPs claim teachers' medical cover is a raw deal is another story given prominence here. That story about the police boss who has been moved, following, not necessarily as a direct consequence, but the police boss who is accused of brutality in the Gen Z crackdown has been moved in shake-up of top command. Another story. City Hall set to impose hefty fees on motorists, traders, and developers. That story is on the inside pages, and they're talking about the parking fees in Nairobi rising in the next few months, by 2026, I think July, to 520 shillings daily. Currently, I think we're paying 300 shillings per day. Close to double. The County Assembly of Nairobi passed this resolution. So if you're a motorist in Kenya, ama in Nairobi, ukiegesha gari lako kwenye mitaa ya Nairobi, utalipishwa shilingi 520 by July next year. Fadhali hata upande wa ile taxes zingine zile. Anyway, Daily Nation. People Daily. Housing decline. This is something we've talked about over and over this entire year, and I think since the constitution of the 13th Parliament. Housing decline. What's driving Kenya's parliament to lose credibility? I think this is a very obvious headline. What was once a respected arena of sharp minds and principled debate is increasingly becoming a chamber governed by routine, parochial loyalties, and shrinking sense of independence. The story is on page 4. They quote a few people here. Caleb Amisi was one of the MPs, members of that National Assembly, and said, you can shout against a bad bill, but once the majority of those allied with the president vote for it, it passes. That's how the system is built. The National Assembly especially has come under a lot of criticism in how they've passed a lot of government-sponsored or even privately sponsored bills that have received support from the ruling administration. And the fact that MPs are simply rubber stamps. Anything that comes just passes. And they call it now house in decline. The other story is given prominence hapa. Why Uhuru and Gachagua unity could shift Mount Kenya politics is what features on the top strip. The main story is on page 7 of this paper. People Daily. Tukimalizia kwa masuala ya biashara. Business Daily, they talk about Treasury giving up 15 billion shilling in race for Safaricom dividends. This now is a different angle or strand to the sale of Safaricom shares that the government previously held. Remember, the government still holds some shareholding in Safaricom. They did not sell everything. So the government has now given up by selling what they sold, 15% of their shares. They've given up 15.5 billion shillings worth of future dividends from Safaricom in a rush to receive an upfront payment of 40.2 billion shillings on the 20% stake it will retain. Previously, they had 35%, I think, to retain in the company after selling part of its shares to South Africa's Vodacom. So, according to this paper, yes, it's a loss in projected dividends, but then again, there's still some gains for the government. Discount deal disclosed by Vodacom to its shareholders. This is a discount that has been highly criticized by Ndindi Nyoro, that the government appears to have undervalued the value of shares in Safaricom and sold, just before they sold their stake to Vodacom. What does that mean to Kenyans? Could have the government benefited more or gotten a better deal? Hata kama ninaenda kwa infrastructure fund, si ingekuja tu mingi. We don't mind. But anyway, that's the situation. That's a big story there on the front page of the Business Daily. On the ticker here, they talk about park entry revenues defy fees standoff and climb to 7.92 billion shillings. Remember the fact that now KWS has increased entry fees to most parks, even with the holiday season now kicking off. They're still not recording losses. Watu wanalipa na wanaingia kwa parks. So despite the fee standoff, pesa zimepanda. Housing finance employees to get 5% stake in stock compensation plan. And finally, investors opt for longer-term bond in yield hand. So these are just some of the business-related stories. And we'll be looking at probably the political headlines, a lot about what happened in the by-elections that took place last week. From the youth's perspective, also, do they agree with the church that the president betrayed Kenyans in that statement released yesterday? Let's take a look at Maswala ya Karakacha. But before that, once again, allow me to introduce my panelists this morning. We'll be having Ben Gige, who's aspiring to be a governor in Nairobi. Virginia Wanjiru Githinji, who's aspiring to be a Langata MP come 2027. James Mulamba, who refers to himself as a revolutionary. Tekin Saiko, who's an advocate trainee and a scholar in international trade law. Another youth leader here, Moses Nyanduga. Lynette Moke, who's an aspiring MCA for the Woodley Ward in Nairobi here. Nick Mwangi, who's a Secretary General Kenya Hadi Party. And Gakuna Njima Castro, a familiar face on the panel, a political scientist and also the founder of the National People's Guard. So in a few minutes' time at exactly 6:30, we'll be having them on set. Later on, remember, it's International Volunteers Day, and we'll be having this conversation on the International Year of Volunteers for Sustainable Development with these two people, Mesha Kodede, who's a national chairperson volunteer involving Organization Society of Kenya, and Dr. Lynette Ochuma, Acting Secretary, Directorate of Social Development. This conversation will be coming your way after we are done with the Youth Perspective at 8 a.m. All right, tuangazie karakacha sasa. The cartoon on the People Daily, we have a caricature of a Kenyan politician staring at a billboard that is offering special offers for 2027. Wanasema limited time deals just for you. Buy a political party and get goons for free. We've been talking about goons for the better part of this week. Even the president spoke about them. But this one cuts across whichever political side you support. Goons ni kama wamekuwa a requirement. Ndio na sijui kama how young aspiring candidates also are using or seeing the necessity for goons in their political aspirations. The cartoon on the Star focuses on the peace deal between Rwanda and the DRC. The signing of this peace deal took place yesterday in Washington, D.C. Of course, Donald Trump hapo katikati. The EAC chairperson, William Ruto, who was also present looking on. But according to the U.S. perspective, this peace deal simply helps them to do business in peace. Gentlemen, we can now do business in peace, talking about American interests in that region. The cartoon on the Daily Nation. This debate was introduced earlier this week when the president presided over the passing out of quite a number of chiefs, and then he hosted them at State House. Now he's caricatured with a lot of food on a table up, and asema next it will be sub-chiefs and village elders. After the chiefs, sub-chiefs and village elders will be the next to get an invitation to State House to enjoy whatever benefits come with that. And finally, the cartoon on the Standard. And you can see this is Harry, the cartoonist. There's a caricature of the president here. Okay, I am assuming. Okay, is it the president? Anyway, someone on a bed dreaming. Some united opposition is equals to Azimio, is equal to all parties. He's asking a question. Okay, fine. Harry sometimes can get very cryptic in his, very cryptic in some of his descriptions. Yes, 20 days to Christmas, and we have a lot of goodies to give you. And today we'll be giving you 3 vouchers courtesy of Fun City. Yes, I introduced this to you yesterday. It is about the Fun Out Kids Fiesta that's taking place this weekend at Fun City. It is a Fun Out Kids Fiesta. Wanasema it'll be happening at the Fun City Gardens grounds tomorrow. This is the biggest kids fiesta of the season. Families, kids, teenagers, and schools are all welcome. Get ready to play, explore, and make memories at Fun City Gardens. Entry is free. So everyone who has a child, please take some time and take them there for this Fun Out Fiesta. For those people who are interested in being vendors at this event, vendor spaces are available at different rates. You can book your spot today. And if you're interested, call or WhatsApp this number, 0722-238-988 to secure your slots. Once again, we'll be giving out 3 vouchers within the show. What you need to do to win that voucher is answer this question on our social media pages. Who would you bring with you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and why? Yeah? Who would you bring with you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and why? Answer this question on our social media pages currently on your screen on Facebook, TV47 Kenya, on YouTube, TV47 Kenya, and the WhatsApp number is on your screen right now, 0793-267-279. Yes, once again, 0793-267-279 is our WhatsApp number. And even as you answer that, kindly tag that person that you would wish to bring to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta, and also tell us where you're texting us from so that we can be able to get the voucher to you. Yes, remember, 3 vouchers to give out during the period of this show. So something to look forward to. All right, get texting right now on all our social media pages, including X. Our handle on X is at TV47 Digital. If you want to tag me on that, just remember, my handle is at Freddy Ndimuli. Use the hashtag MorningCafeTV47. See you after the break.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Omer every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gas. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
Walikutoka.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Hiyo naona nakubali.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV47. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.digital or scan this QR code and stream your way to endless news and entertainment. Welcome to the home of untold stories.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Frederick. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Frederick is my name.
We are flipping the script, but guess what? Or should I say, guess who is taking over tonight's show?
Ani wewe furahia umekaa na kasukuni. CP unit ni Punet.
So you guys knew about
Piga.
Sawa basi. Sema, that don't give you the whole time.
I don't want to go back to brokenness.
Never.
I just love the high life. Siwezi taka kuimagine ati nimesota.
You have to watch to find out. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m. Friendship Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. with Ann Odida. Dive deep into the dynamics of love, friendship, and family as we explore the stories that shape our connections. Then satisfy your appetite with Tasty Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. where Anne serves up delicious recipes, cooking tips, and the latest food trends to inspire your next meal. Relationship Wednesday and Tasty Wednesday every Wednesday 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on Morning Cafe. No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Omer every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV 47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV 47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV 47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gas. Betty, I didn't know where this guy's going.
Walikutoka.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Mimi simpa. Hiyo nao nakubali.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV 47.
Good morning once again. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47, being a Friday. Of course, it is a youth perspective. But before we even get down to discussing the headlines with my panelists, whom I'll be introducing in a short while, a quick reminder that we have giveaways, 3 vouchers that you can redeem for food and other fun activities at the Fun Out Kids Fiesta, which you earned your form this weekend. Fun Out Kids Fiesta happening at the Fun City Gardens grounds tomorrow, 6th of December. It is the biggest kids fiesta of the season. Families, kids, teens, and schools get ready to play, explore, and make memories at Fun City Gardens. Entry is free. For those interested in being vendors at the event, vendor spaces are also available at different trades. And to book your spot, you can do so today. Simply call or WhatsApp this number 0722-238-988 to secure your slot. Once again, for those interested in being vendors at the Fun Out Kids Fiesta, you can book your spot today. Simply call or WhatsApp 0722-238-988. Yes, 3 vouchers to be given today to our fans. And you can redeem this for food or kids fun activities. Now, to get a voucher, Simply answer this question on our social media pages. Who would you bring with you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and why? Who would you bring with you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and why? Make sure you answer that question. Also tag the people that you would want to accompany you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and tell us where you're texting us from so that you can ensure that the voucher gets to you. 3 vouchers to be given today, which you can redeem for food and other kids' fun activities at the Fun Out Kids Fiesta. All right. Just before I introduce my panelists, of course, rights groups, civil society members have demanded that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, issue a public apology over the bungled November 27th by-elections. This is also a story covered here at TV47 by my colleague Linda Lela. Let's watch it.
Civil rights organizations led by the Kenya Human Rights Commission have condemned violence and legal violations in several areas during the recent by-elections. They claim there was widespread misuse of public resources and voter bribery, particularly in Kasipul, Mbeere North and Malaba.
What we saw last week, then the level of preparedness towards the next election is not adequate enough, looking at what happened in the by-elections and all the cases of violations and infractions.
The activists warn they will take IEBC to court if it fails to investigate and act against those responsible for electoral violence.
Of IEBC. So when any other player has got an error or is involved in a malfeasance in the elections, IEBC has got the power to stop those elections. We didn't see that happen, and we see that's a great weakness on the part of IEBC.
Meanwhile, the National Council of Churches of Kenya has urged political leaders to uphold democracy, condemning the rise of voter bribery in the by-elections.
What hope do Kenyans have that 2027 general elections will be any different? We don't have any hope.
NCCK Chair Elias Agola criticized Parliament for passing unjust laws, while Secretary General Chris Kinyanjui warned that criminal gangs could push the country back into violence if electoral laws are not fully enforced.
A candidate is doing violence. Let them not be fined. Let them be deregistered. Let them not continue to be candidates, because that is the power that the people of Kenya gave on IEBC.
For TV47, I'm Linda Alela.
Yes, indeed, and that story forms the basis of our first discussion this morning, the aftermath of the November 27th by-elections. Today we're getting the youth perspective on what they think happened or what could be done better. Rights groups have already demanded an apology from IEBC. They call this a bungled by-election. Allow me to introduce my panelists, beginning on my immediate right. We do have James Mulamba, a revolutionary. Karibu sana, James. Next to James, we have Ben Ngige, who's an aspiring gubernatorial candidate for Nairobi. Karibu sana,
Thank you, Fred.
On the front here, we have Lynette Moke, who's also an aspirant for the Woodley Ward MCA seat. Karibu sana. Behind her, we have Virginia Wanjiru Githinji, who's also an aspiring politician. She's aspiring to become the next MP for Langata constituency. Karibu sana.
Thank you for that.
Yes. Another familiar face on this panel, Nick Mwangi. Buried his head in the newspaper. Our viewers would want to see you.
Very good morning.
Nick is a Secretary General of the Kenya Ahadi Party. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Fred.
We also have Moses Nyanduga, who's a youth leader. Karibu sana, Moses. And another familiar face on the panel, Gakuna Njima Castro, is a political scientist and founder of the National People's Guard, NPG. Karibuni sana. So a quick opinion or comment about the events that transpired last week on Thursday. Do you think or do you agree with the civil society that the by-elections on November 27th were bungled by the IEBC?
Yeah, I agree with the rights groups because it still doesn't make sense to me that we've not gotten it right 3 years later, 10 years later, 13 years later, that we transitioned to a semi-electronic voting system, but our kids keep failing all the time. If
Okay.
fail during a by-election of, say, 18 elective positions, then what do we expect in 2027? Massive failure of KIMS kits, so that we resort to a voter register, to a manual voter register. And we know how they use this manual voter register to steal in votes and to use, to force those that are not eligible to vote. I mean, a dead person can still not vote. But then, welcome to Kenya where dead people vote. It doesn't make sense to me that our KIMS kits keep failing all the time. Even when we get time to rectify our errors, we still come back to the same problem. Okay. If our KIMS kits then have a technical issue that needs to be sorted out, then perhaps we need to procure new ones before 2027. Otherwise, we still face the same problem over and over again. Okay. And it's not lost to us that this election, these by-elections, just like our general elections, still had some elements of violence, and we also saw voter suppression. And we understand these are tell signs of what might happen in 2027. Personally, I'm worried about the 2027 election.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ben Ngigi, are you worried, given the events of last week, are you worried about what we can expect come the next general election?
Yeah, thank you, Fred. I think it is clear that the by-elections were marred by voter bribery, as we saw in Mbeere North, where people were given money to vote for their preferred candidates. And of course, we saw there was a lot of violence in places like Malava. And those two incidences, we saw that both the voter and the aspirants are being bribed, both to go out of the election and of course to favor a particular candidate. And these are signs that in 2027, we should expect more of these incidences. And this is clear in the Elections Offences Act of 2016, that, for instance, bribery, that candidate should be charged 2 million shillings or 6 years imprisonment, and many other issues that have been orchestrated by both government operatives, the ruling party, goons, the plainclothes police officers who are used to corrupt and to, of course, influence the voting patterns of the various electorate positions.
Okay. At Linet, we saw the IEBC crack the whip, at least in one instance, when there was violence recorded in Kasipul. Two of the candidates were fined 1 million shillings each. Do you think that that was enough? Or do you feel that the IEBC could have done more?
First of all, thank you so much, TV47. I think the fine was not enough. They could be bad not even to stand for any political, to vie for any political. But again, there's...
Kindly pass the handheld microphone.
Okay, thank you so much. I think they could be bad not even to vie for any political seat in Kenya. When you look at the bribery, first of all, the bribery that took place in this by-election, like I can say in Kisii, because I come from Kisii, I saw that people were given money, but they did not vote for the government, those people who stood for the government. They even chased away those people who came with the money. I believe that Kenyan people, if you stand strong, we can make good decisions and we can vote leaders who are credible to work for the people of Kenya.
Okay.
So I think IEBC is compromised in a way, and the fines were not okay. They were not okay because I think it's coming from above. That's what I can say.
All right. And the civil society accuses the IEBC of failing to deliver free, fair and credible polls, citing widespread malpractice ranging from voter bribery, violence, voter suppression, misuse of state resources. Virginia, do you agree? Or do you feel that we are being a bit too harsh on an IEBC that's still young in its tenure?
Thank you very much, Fred, for this opportunity. As the young people, we are demanding for change. But how are we going to get this change if the people we trust to give us credible elections with transparency and accountability are not held responsible? I feel the government have totally failed us, actually completely totally failed us. Because, for example, a good example is Mbeere North. We saw like political parties, the major political parties, the government and the oppositions, they were really fighting for this position. And this transpired to a lot of state money being misused. This is our money. And it is being used to bring a leader on board. How is this going to happen for those people who don't have the financial muscles? This is the young people who need to be in the government. The voters being bought. And the big question is, are even the voters ready for this change that they want?
Right.
If their money is going to be used to put these leaders on board, how are they going even to defend them in the parliament?
Okay.
For me, I totally disagree, and I feel that the IEBC, no matter how young they are, they should be held responsible and apologize. They owe us that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Nick, and I know before we even get to your feelings about the outcome of the by-elections, I just need your sentiments on how the IEBC performed there in as far as ensuring a level playing field for all candidates.
Yes.
The level of the kind of accusations probably may have hindered even some young aspirants. Yes. And I've had quite a number of aspirants here talking about how probably they may not be able to afford some of the things they saw happen. Do you agree that the IEBC this time failed?
Well, a very good morning, Fred, to you and to our viewers. I want to tackle it in this manner. First, the IEBC came into office just a few months ago. And right just before the former IEBC chair passed, there was a lot of time to first vet and get new people on the job. So I want to first look at the process of getting these people on the job. Why did it take so long? Because election was almost 2 to 3 years ago, and 3 years down the line, we still don't have new people in the office to prepare for by-elections. So I only sympathize with the people of Mbeere North, the people of Barisa, the people of Magarini, for lacking members of parliament to represent their views and ideas to parliament. Two, it is to commend the IEBC because for the first time we see candidates getting fined. We've never seen it before in the previous by-elections. So that is a commendable thing. Number three, how I want to look at it, I think it's also time that IEBC embraces audit because if you're talking about voter bribery, is it just between the candidate and the voters? And what can IEBC also do to that? Do they have the power, do they have the mandate to actually sue or take to court either the candidate or the voter? So those are the things that in matters of policy we want to look at. That IEBC maybe, should they be given more power to look at such things? And then four, the element of inclusivity in this process. I think how do we make elections more transparency can be a better solution to everyone, because in places like Mbeere North, where we are still struggling with electricity, we're still struggling with transport. So how do we make observers, independent observers, to come and observe the elections with free and fair participation? And then finally, the element of how does the government of the day participate in making sure that there is one, security. Because the security agency seems to be failing in their job or seem to be reluctant to participate in making sure that either the candidate is safe or the voter is safe. So those are the elements that we think that if they're looked at, then election can be fair.
What about you, Moses? Do you feel that probably it's an issue of complacency or probably lack of capacity on the IEBC's part? Because if, for example, issues of violence, they were witnessed across board. Maybe voter suppression we may not, or even use of state resources we may not be able to prove here, but at least violence was there.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll first start by condemning what happened, especially in 3 sub-counties we saw, that is Kasipul, Mbeere North and Malava. And when I say this, I'm not only talking about the government side orchestrating maybe bribery or violence, But in equal measures, we must also address this when it comes to opposition politics. I'll say the gunification of political campaigns in this country has reached a very high and a bad level. What we saw last week was just a litmus test. And should IEBC, whether it's new or old, constitutionally, it's mandated to carry out a fair, transparent, and credible elections. So let's think of a situation. If they cannot carry out a fair election in a by-election, this just reflects what can happen in a national election, the general election come 2027. As a young person, I was highly disappointed. When you see a government official bribing voters to vote for a certain candidate, that's like a coup. It's a coup because you are turning against the voice of the people. When the people have made a decision to choose a leader of their will, then it is not within the capacity of both the government and the opposition to maybe go against that. An individual must never die for you to be an MP in any capacity. I'll say as a young person, we had a responsibility. The IEBC had a responsibility to regain the people's trust, but they further lost it. We cannot reason that it's too new. You see, the most important branch of IEBC is Secretariat. They organized everything, they published everything, and they conducted the by-election. The trust we had all about IEBC has faded. And I'll say, facts are sacred, opinion free. We must call evil by the name evil and nothing else. If we want to streamline IEBC before 2027, the first thing which must just happen, should parliamentarians in this country be serious, then let them legislate on some of the rules and the laws to govern IEBC. If a candidate, for example, is being accused, not falsely but with evidence, to have either bribed voters or maybe involved in gunification in any way, then they should be permanent barred from participating in any elective position.
You brought up something very interesting about probably provisions, legal provisions. Castro, do you feel that it's a lack of legislation, that we do not have enough laws that the IEBC can use to counter some of these things it's being accused of, or is just a matter of complacency on the part of the Commission?
Friend, I think we have enough rules and regulations that are guiding our electoral processes in this country. We do not have an issue with our KIMS kit, neither do we have an issue with our regulations or laws. What we have an issue is the ethics, integrity, and honesty of men and women given responsibility into this office. Because IEBC is a structural organization or structural agency, or just a government entity cannot afford to fail us, but the men and women given these positions of responsibility do fail us. Why am I saying so? Because it is the sole responsibility of IEBC to maintain, of course, and with the cooperation with our security agencies to maintain security to every section or every ward or constituencies that is having such an elections. What we experienced in Bele North or wherever areas that had an elections was pure electoral manipulations, voter bribery, political violence in those areas. That is not part of guidelines that guide our political or electoral processes. And whatever we are experiencing is not new, and if we cannot be able to curb it now as IEBC, last time before the new IEBC was commissioned, we were in these stations when I said that Kenyans need an IEBC, and they need specifically an IEBC chairman who has the guts to actually even stop some of these people from running. A person who has the guts to even stop or bar former President William Ruto or the President William Ruto from the election because of the maybe whatever Kenyans feel they are not.
You don't think this chairman can do that?
I don't think this chairman can do that with whatever trade that happened. We can see how the government has been able to securitize IEBC or politicize IEBC. I can only say that IEBC is just another arm of the maybe UD or a government functional political party. I don't think IEBC delivered a fair and free elections. Neither do I believe that IEBC will even be able to bar some of the or disqualify some of the unqualified candidates who will be wanting to run for either position, whether it is MCA or the president himself, because at this time, as Kenyans, if we are really serious about changing our country, we really need to have men and women of valor and men of value. That a man who decides that we shall follow the law and regulations to the letter, because I don't see the reason why we should have actually William Ruto running for election in this country again. He's a man who has been accused, of course, of murder, of accused of corruption, accused of abductions,
Thank you,
and it's such a kind of a regime that should be, of course, bad. Do we have such a kind of IEBC, or do we have a chairman or any official in IEBC who would do that for Kenya?
Because I've seen within this panel there are quite a number of aspirants. Just by a show of hands, who's confident here in running for office with the kind of IEBC we have right now? No one. And there are already aspirants here. Are we saying that you're going to cease your political campaigns because IEBC is the way it is right now?
No, Fred, we are not seizing our political campaigns, neither are we seizing our visions, and neither are we forfeiting our generational mandate.
So of
course, some of this task is ours.
It is 19 months to the next election. It is very easy to come and lament and say, oh, IEBC has failed, IEBC has done this and the other. But the youth have also been accused of as being very apathetic to even the kind of concerns that we are talking about. Yes? Yes, Lynette.
Thank you once again. When we are talking about the youth of Kenya.
Just pass her the handheld microphone.
When we are talking about the youth of Kenya, I have 3 friends of mine who are sitting MCAs, and they went to Mbere and there were agents there. The concern was, it was very competitive, yes, but youth did not turn out to vote. After like 50 people, you see one youth. And youth are the one who are complaining that Kenya is hard because we are the future. Our parents they don't have a future, they are going to their retirement. But we are the future. But they do not turn up to vote. If we turn out in a big numbers, even IEBC cannot be able to be compromised.
Yes. I'm saying this because I can see the church here. Yesterday they released a statement criticizing the administration of the day, and it is what features on the front page of the Standard. They say Ruto betrayed you. One of the things they're urging is that they're urging the youth to come out, to rise up. And I'm quoting this. In a strongly worded statement released by NCCK in Limuru yesterday evening, the senior clerics also called on the youth to rise up against what they described as a failed administration. James, do you agree that everyone is looking up to the youth and is expecting that after what we've seen since last year with the youth demonstrations, that something will come from these young people? But very little is coming from your direction, James.
Have a huge burden ahead of us as the Gen Zs, but there's a lie that has been told so many times it appears to be true, that we are failing this country, and that, well, I understand because a lot is expected from us. After all, we are a generation that has risen against maladministration, bad governance. We've called out corruption, nepotism, tribalism, and so on. Well, but the truth still is that youths in this country have never voted in their numbers. Say 70% or a 60% turnout solely on the youth bracket. From the 60s to the 70s to the 80s to the 90s to the early 2000s to today. But then all this burden has been heaped on one generation, the Gen Zs. And we are supposed to overhaul the entire cultural mindset of electoral apathy amongst the youth bracket. In 1990s, when Raila and the likes of Akina Jaramogi were banking on the youth to vote for them, after all they had protested with the youths on the streets, the youths were a no-show. And that's how Moi easily won. In 2013, this is the closest we came to a turnout of around 30% amongst the youths. But still the numbers were low. To this very day, we've struggled with the same problem perennially. But then we've placed a humongous burden on the generation that we have now to forget the past and to outlive the culture of the past and to be the light for the rest of the country. And this is not an easy feat. It's not an easy task for the generation that is now. We have a lot of work to do and a lot of ground to cover, given that youths have never voted in their numbers. This is the first time we are expecting youths to vote in their numbers. So we need to do a lot.
Yet the level of agitation and if I may call political awakening that we've seen in the past 2 years is something that we've not witnessed in a very long time. Probably in the 90s with the agitation for multi-party democracy, we saw that kind of movement with young people on the streets. We've seen that over the last 2 years. But as James says, it's not translating into the kind of change that even you young people would want to see. Then where is the disconnect then?
Yeah, thank you, Fred. That is why actually we are aspiring to go into the election as aspirants. And as we said that the youth are the majority in this country, actually we cite 65% to... Thank you. We cite 65% to 70% of the Kenyan population are youth, but it is not reflective when it comes to the voting patterns. We saw during the by-elections that most of the people who voted are women and the men. And we call the youth the keyboard warriors because we are actually good at tweeting and going online. And of course, when it comes to queuing and making the decisions at the ballot, we are the last to do that. And it calls for all of us to do what we call civic education, just to sensitize the young people and tell them it is important that you wake up and you go and elect the person that you wish to rule and govern the nation, the constituency, the ward, so that we vote in leaders of accountability, leaders of integrity, leaders of who can propel the nation forward. And of course, Fred, even as I finish, you realize that some of the youth, most of the youth population, say 30% are unemployed. And when the bribes come, they are tempted to take a photo and take the bribe, which is against the Constitution and the rule of free and fair election. The question
arises because they were involved in these by-elections in some way, either as agents, either through the violence we witnessed. It was not old people fighting. These were generally young people. So it's not that they stayed home. They were out there actively engaging in the activities of the day, just not queuing to cast their ballot. What is the issue, Virginia? What is the challenge with young people just queuing and casting a ballot? Is it apathy? Is it lethargy? Is it a sense of disillusionment that my vote will not count?
I don't think this is the main agenda because as the young people, these are people who have been frustrated. These are people who did not value their rights and their democratic rights on voting. But I would like to tell you something. If today you walk in slums or you walk everywhere and meet young people and ask them, are we the change that we want? They will definitely tell you, yes, we are the change that we want. But remember, we are the same people who have been victimized, being abducted, being, okay, like there is that perception. These people, they are not going to vote. They are going to be used, but let me tell you, ground mambo ni tofauti.
Mambo ni tofauti, it's 19 months to the next election. If it does
remember,
not happen in
mambo ni
the past 2
tofauti.
years. Yeah.
When we are talking about the young people, we are not only talking about the Gen Zs who are below 30s, okay? We are talking even about the millennials because the youthful age starts at 40, below 40. Even if in the Constitution, it's about 35, below 35, but even at 40, you are still young, energetic to go for what you want. And funny enough, we don't want to compete and our muscles are cut. So we are working it out because right now, there is take your vote, register as a voter. We are advocating for it. We are going on ground telling the young people, chukua vote, piga kura yako 2027. And this is what the young people are telling you. They are doing it. They might not doing, remember, they might not, yes, we are doing it.
Okay.
So, as the system which have existed, for example, Mbere North, former speaker, Justin Muturi, is not a youth. He was frontline, akishika mtu shingo, okay? Is he a youth? So we don't want to watch our fathers doing those actions, then we follow them.
Okay. James, you wanted to add something?
Oh, I wanted to say, I wanted to help my panelists with this conundrum of why the youths are not appearing to vote and what seems to be the problem. As I have alluded to before, we have had a generational problem of youths not showing up to vote from the 60s to this very day. We are trying to undo that. But then, look at the generation we have today. It's a generation that is used to convenience. Ukitaka kwenda mahali, Uber. If you want to get a research quickly done, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok. We are living in an information world and technology iko kwa mikono. So this generation tells you they want to vote electronically. Let me assure you, let me give you a challenge. Even though we've not gotten to this age as a country, if today elections were held and they were held electronically or digitally, 70% to 80% of the youth would vote. Our problem is lethargy, as you said, but then technology and in the information world we live today might have as well given us too much convenience to make us lazy. But then we wish this country had already banked on technology and we wish we had gotten to that edge. Youths are saying queuing for voting takes 8 hours, 6 hours at most, I mean at least, in places where the population, the registered voters in that particular polling stations are many. But look at it from the information system or the technology system that we have today that would require or would have a mechanism through which youths would vote online, that in 20 minutes, in 30 minutes you're done. Because you're used to that convenience. All these youths would vote. But then I still want to challenge them that we've still not gotten there. Wacha tuseme we are dinosaurs as a country.
Very interesting.
We still have to get to the physical polling station. We still have to get ourselves to the registration centers and register physically. Your option electronic bado ijakuja.
And queue as well.
And queue as well.
Yeah,
because if we queue at
challenge.
supermarkets, if we queue at government offices, if we queue for interviews, then what's the fuss with queuing to vote?
Right. Moses, do you agree that that could be a solution? But it's only 19 months to the next general election. I doubt that we'll have progressed in as far as technology is concerned to that extent.
I'll say that, let me first start by disagreeing with electronic voting. If you want the worst to happen in this country, then try that. We don't want a situation whereby by 8 we'll be seeing news of millions of fake emails which have been generated. Everything has been hacked from MCA level to presidency. What I'll tell the young people, I'm also one of them, of course, it is our responsibility. Let's stop shouting one term, saying things. And you know the problem in this country is one. Again, when we talk about one term, majority of young people think we are only talking about President William Ruto. No. One term reflects to everyone, even that MCA who is doing nothing, that MP, that governor living abroad, yet is a governor in Kenya. So when we talk about this, yes, we live in a technology era, but why can't we use even sometimes when you just log into your TikTok account, you find people dancing, in fact, irrelevant things. Why can't we use these spaces to promote civic education in this country? We do have Facebook, X, and Kenyans are very, very active in these social media platforms. It is time, as a young person, stop shouting one time or saying anything. You yourself, you have a constitutional responsibility of going out there, register as a voter, count 2027, vote. If by any bad chance, President William Ruto is re-elected into presidency, believe you me, we'll have the same situation we had in 2024 and 2025 repeating itself in 2028. You'll see we young people will go to the roads saying, oh, bei ya maisha imepanda, saying all sorts of, let me call it nonsense. The reason as to why I talk about nonsense, you have that responsibility. When you have a voter's card, it's like you have a blank check. You have the power of a giant. You choose what to do with it. Okay. And you cannot say that president is not working if you failed to take your responsibility of voting, if you never took part in any electioneering period, any activity, whether as a voter or as an agent, you are not supposed to complain. You are not supposed, because you had that responsibility. You had the time to change the fiscal wrong you felt was not going in any way better in this country. And I'll plea to my favorite, I'll plea to my fellow young people. If you want to change this country, we have been talking about the future, the future. This is the future. Okay. Because we killed it last year through bad leadership. We have to wait for another future if it ever comes.
Okay. When you talk about patriotism, Kenyans, many Kenyans, and even those living abroad, just believe it's about that Kenyan flag band that I can see the SG of the Kenya Hardy Party wearing. But involvement in your civic role is also part and parcel of patriotism. Do you think that Kenyan youth, you included, are lacking when it comes to patriotism? That playing your civic role of going to cast a ballot and ensuring that you get to choose the leaders for this country, up until you draw the line?
First of all, Fred, let me congratulate, because I was doing the math of the total votes in Mbere, because I was really in Mbere. The total votes were around 34,000, and we did a percentage of how many youth were present, and it was around 20,000. That's around 60%. I want to congratulate the young people who came.
So you're saying the majority of those who voted in Mbere North were actually
Yes, they are young people, because I was there. And a majority of the young people were also there protecting their votes, Fred. Because, you know, the aspersions that are being created online is to make sure that the young vote is divided. Because a majority of people who are talking that young people are not at the ballot were not even there, Fred. First, let me commend the young people, because from 2024, 2025, the young people were to the street. These old folks are pushing us to pay for their mistakes, Fred. One, the young people came out at a large number in 2024, at another large number in 2025. When young people were being killed, when young people were being abducted, the church was still silent, Fred. Now they cannot be all of a sudden be very clever and tell us, look, young people, you have failed. That heavy responsibility for paying the price, it is a cumulative responsibility for everyone in this country.
You feel that burden is misplaced, that no one should ask you to rise up and do something?
I'm saying the burden should be shared among all of us, because it's not young people only are in this country, Fred. We are from the generation that we say that we are young people. What of the old generation? They keep making the same mistakes that we keep want to change, Fred.
Let's focus on our own role. You as a youth, because today is a youth perspective.
I'm getting to that point, Fred. Take me slow, because I want to take you as we are going.
Checking my time to see if we can, how slow we can go.
Yes, Fred. Two, the church is telling us this morning, or they did a presser yesterday, saying that the young people need to do more. Really, Fred. The church already has failed. They're on record taking bribes. President Ruto is not giving 100 million on the street. He's giving 100 million to the church. So the first accountability should go in the church, not to the young people. They should first come out and say, look, the 100 million or the 80 million that we are being given as a church, first, we don't want. Then they should advise us as young people about voting. But that's beside the point. The young people, as we are today, Fred, we are learning to shift from activism to politics. Fred, I tell you, politics is war. It's not a game that you have to dream and have to imagine that it needs to be fair. The battle of politics is won before the game started. Now, where our young people are stuck is we need to learn how to move from activism to play politics. Okay. We're in a generation that they know politics. We still know activism.
My concern is the 19 months between now and the next general election, and how much can be done within this time. So far, 2 months into the voter registration resumption, the continuous voter registration, probably there'll be an enhanced voter registration next year. I do not know. But so far, only about 90,000 Kenyan youth have showed up to register. 3 months later, it's like 1,000 per day. Surely, are you concerned that turning around this activism into proper muscle at the ballot could be impossible?
Sure, friend. I'm very concerned about the behavior and how the young people, of course, we are trying to take politics in this era. We are so much keen, or we are so much making so much effort on what we did in June 2024 than what we are preparing to do in 2027. Young people, they are prepared to vote, but they are preparing to vote at their convenience. And I can tell you, we cannot be competing with the people we are asking them to make us systems that we shall facilitate us to vote them out at our convenience. They will not usually do that to us. Nick said that in politics or electoral process, it is a political war. Of course, politics is a political war. And in this time, any government perceives youth, civil societies, the church, and the media as their enemies. So, however we want to ask the government to be free and fair onto us, of course, I'm not expecting for them to be free. I'm not expecting them, but we are demanding for them to create a system where we can vote at our bed sitters or at our bedrooms. They will not. We have to work hard. We have to get out the vote, get ourselves, mobilize our own selves, and also mobilize the elder generation so that we can go queue and vote. And we cannot vote when you are not registered. You said that, of course, it is a data that only 90,000 that were registered as voters during the 2 months enrolled or continuous electoral process. But I can tell you, I was able to mobilize a few of them in other constituencies. Last 2022, I applied for a member of parliament in Othaya, and I have the experience of how the young people behave, especially at such a time. I don't think there is a time when young people will want to be at the same place or at the same side of political side if we do not have our own presidential candidate, because we have, as young people, we are perceived to have a similar interest, employment. But we have young people who are devolved into various sectors. We have young people into education. We have young people into health. We are young people into politics. And I think as young people in politics, we have a very long way to go to lead to this country. And of course, show other young people our way onto politics, because we have neglected to play our own politics. We have neglected our own. We have neglected our own game. We are playing their games, people who have disoriented us, people who have conned us, people who have disrespected us, but we are playing their own game. We are assisting them to still stick and, of course, be in power when we are still crying and demanding them to make things
and you see
work easier for us.
The challenges have been listed by the civil society: voter suppression, voter bribery, use of state resources, violence. Now, these are things that even young people can experience. Do you see a situation where even the youth, both aspirants and potential voters, are still vulnerable to these same problems, that you're still susceptible to voter bribery? Of course, you need the money. That voter suppression, there's a way, despite how active and how talkative you may be online, that there's a way, and you've talked about how apathetic you are to going out, leaving your bedroom and going to vote. That's already voter suppression by design. The use of state resources that many of you do not have access to. Don't you think that the system has already conspired to ensure that you'll be of no consequence come 2027?
You are right about that. Because, well, a hungry man possibly will take the bribe, possibly will take the money. But then we are hoping for a best case scenario, like she had said about Kisii, where people took the money but did not vote in government candidates. That's a best case scenario. But youths have been used and misused as goons since immemorial. We all know that goons are always young people. It is not started today. It's not a problem that is unique to the Gen Zs. It's a problem that's unique to young people because they have the energy, they have the time, and most of them are idle. But then we are hoping for a best case scenario. And by the way, I need to throw a ball to the civil society and to the churches we have in Kenya. For those who might not know, the constitution we have today, the support and the clamor for the constitution we have today was started by civil society groups, then seconded by the church. The politicians, the likes of Raila Odinga, who we fondly refer to as the father of the constitution we have today, took up the fight later. But this fight was started in the 80s and in the 90s by the civil society groups and by the churches we have in Kenya. We want to remind the church that the war is not over, that the battle has not been won, and that we still have an enemy to fight, and we still have to fight bad governance, we still have to fight voter apathy, we still have to fight electoral fraud, and we need them because they have the resources.
Do you feel let down by these two organizations?
Yes.
Church and the civil society?
What is the church doing? They have a spotlight, they have a platform. What is the civil society doing? To me, the civil society group in Kenya, not to demean them, appears to be a litany of groups that love complaining and that are too reactive than proactive. I don't see them doing civic education. I don't see them getting to the grassroots and engaging voters. I don't see them doing that as much. But I see them every other time on presses, on sponsored interviews, lamenting about this and that and this and that. What happened to their proactiveness? What happened to the church? The church gave us William Ruto. Let us be honest for once. The church gave us William Ruto, knowing who he was. But this church still does not want to admit that it failed this country, and it doesn't want to right its wrongs. I would want to see the church use its platform to engage the young voters, to engage the Gen Zs, and to use its platform to push the young people to actually register as voters, and to help IEBC get to the young people, because these young people are in churches. Not all of them are as
I wanted to challenge that, because
I'm
also made to understand that young people are very apathetic also about church.
No, they go to church.
Do they?
Yes, they go to church.
Yes, actually.
And they belong to civil society groups.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Fred, we go to church, and we see that church plays a key role in influencing the voter, because once the bishop or the preacher proposes a candidate, you find that the church celebrates. And this is something that we need to work on, because we need to talk about how civic education should influence the voter and the voter to make the right decisions. And I think the church now is speaking because of the pending bills by SHA, and you know that they own hospitals. And that is why actually they are making the statements that the young people should go out. And you find that the issue of pending bills has been orchestrated by the government to ensure that there is no money in circulation, in such a way that when we go to the election in 2027 and there is no money in circulation and you are given 5,000 shillings, would you rather take the money or would you rather vote for the right candidate? Mm-hmm. And you find also that the government is also hiring 10,000 police officers at such a time as this. Why is it so strategic that the government should hire police officers during this time that we are headed to the general election? And we saw that the police were used actually and other state machineries to influence the voting patterns, to cause violence, and of course the plainclothes police officers were also ferried to various polling stations to ensure that the election is not free and fair. And you see also that the recent maandamano that happened in Nairobi CBD, you saw that also the criminal gangs in Nairobi, and you know the criminal gangs are over 130 in number. And they are being used by the state also to influence the voting patterns. And you see that when the criminal gangs are doing what they are doing in terms of destroying property, in terms of stealing other people's phones and resources, the police are just standing by and watching. So we are wondering if the state is preparing for 2027 election through the hiring of police officers, employing of the criminal gangs, voter bribery, sucking out the money from the economy. So we are wondering if really the election in 2027 will be free and fair. Case study, Tanzania, and you saw that so many people were butchered. And we are actually waiting to see what will happen in Uganda next year, and afterwards we are waiting to see what will come out in Kenya.
Interesting sentiments there, and some pundits argue that if at all these methods, voter bribery, use of state resources, voter suppression and violence worked successfully for some within the political divide during the November 27th election, chances are they could still be preparing for the same, using the same methods that were considered successful for 2027. What would that mean for the Kenyan electorate? Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue with this conversation on the youth perspective.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Omer every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV 47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV 47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV 47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tiaga. Betty, I didn't know where this guy's going.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments. Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV 47. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV 47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.digital or scan this QR code and stream your way to endless news and entertainment. Welcome to the home of untold stories.
Welcome back. We continue examining the challenges that young people face in getting or taking part in the electoral process in Kenya, what we've witnessed in the by-election, and what we anticipate come 2027. And there are real challenges, the kind of that have been listed by the civil society, and how young Kenyans and candidates are reacting to it. Yes, James, you wanted to indicate that there were 10 young candidates across the 27 by-elections of last month.
Yes, we had over 10 Gen Z candidates. There was Jasmine Ooko of Kasipulu who came 9th. There was Amos Katana of Magarini who came 4th. There was Lawrence Ireri of Mbere North. there was, I'm forgetting the name of these other candidates, but there were more than 10 Gen Z candidates in the ward representative positions and in the MP positions. Perhaps we do not have a candidate in the senatorial position in Baringo, but we had candidates.
There was, I think, a DCP candidate who was quite young. I mean, I'm not sure if it was a Gen Z, but it was, I think, one of the youngest candidates.
So now let's dig into the problem. Now for once, let's forget that the young people are the problem. Now let's look at the voter. So the average voter does not want to vote for a youth candidate. One, they are discriminating them on age, they are discriminating them on experience, some are discriminating them on employment basis. Wanasema wewe hauna kazi, hii pesa yetu ndio unataka.
And these are the young voters discriminating young.
No, the old ones who showed up to vote. Okay. Now we've shifted the blame from the young people to the old people who actually showed up to vote. Mm-hmm. The ones who did not vote for Jasmine Ooko, the men, were just, as she said, according to her own perspective, were just appealed by her body, but they did not see a leader in her. Mm-hmm. The women told her she should first get married before she comes to seek elective office. Mm-hmm. Which metrics are we using? As for Amos Katana and the rest of the other candidates who vied, they faced a voting bloc that is unwilling to change, a voting bloc that needs you to have money for handouts, a voting bloc that needs you to have a public address system and an elaborate logistic system for campaigns. Wanamwambia, your karali is very small. Wacha tukimbie kule ambao kuna kelele mingi na pesa imekuja mzuri. So they don't even care about the ideas you have. They don't care about your solutions. They don't care about your integrity. They don't care about what you have or who you are. They care about the money you have. They care about the logistical means you have. And that's the problem. So we should also shift that perspective. And by the way, I think coming to this older population, because DP Kithure Kindiki falls into that bracket, I think it's about time we take him to court. Because how would you tell people of Mbeere North that if you vote against the government, we are not going to finish or complete the projects the government has initiated in this particular area? Isn't that blackmail? He should be sued for blackmail. How do you tell people that if they vote against government, they are not going to get development? And by the way, who voted in the president and the deputy president to conduct development? After all, if I look at the functions of the president, development does not feature anywhere. The president is supposed to be an economic stabilizer. He's supposed to be a political leader for the rest of the country. He's supposed to be a chief diplomat for the rest of the country. But I do not see any agenda of development featuring in there. It has been misused by the state, the idea that if you do not vote towards the government, then you are not going to get state resources, you're not going to get access to the government, and you're not going to get access to development.
I want to focus now on that issue of young aspirants, because we have them within the panel. We've talked about the young voter and the challenges. Quite a number of people here aspiring, politicians, come 2027. Do you agree that there are challenges, that just being young by itself could be a disadvantage, Lynette?
I agree, but first of all, I want to respond that the president has destabilized the country. Like now, I'm an entrepreneur.
Just give her the handheld microphone. Sorry for that.
Thank you. I want to comment that the president has destabilized this country. I'm an entrepreneur. This is December, but you don't see money. It's like I'm a Finnish Kumalo economy, and then you see this is his first 5 years, and the economy is like this. When we are going to give him the second term that people are chanting second term, what will he do? Because he knows he's going home after, he's going to retire. So these first 5 years, he has not done anything. People who are in informal sector are crying. The economy is bad. Okay. And that is one thing that the youth should consider first. When, you will not remain to be youth forever. You'll have families. What are we eyeing to have these leaders on board again? They should come out, because this is our future. How do you want your children to grow? Because the economy is toiling a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
There were successful young aspirants.
Yeah.
The current MP for Kasipul, I think, is still in his 20s. 27. Yeah, 27. I think is one of the youngest members of the National Assembly. So there were successes. What challenge or opportunities do exist? And do you think that probably his situation was different?
the situation was different. First of all, there is sympathy votes. He got that because of the dad. And ODM participated, I can say broad-based government participated on it fully for him to clinch that seat.
Continue, I'll give you a chance.
Yeah, the broad-based did that. And the opponent, what is his name? I saw him on another platform, Philly Morocco, praising the government, perhaps because he has a case in court. I don't know. Was it clear? But you know, in this game of politics, you need to support someone in order for you to exist well. There is a problem with youth. First of all, the resources that we've said, but I think we can do the impossible. When you sensitize, you talk to the people one-on-one, they listen to you, we can bring that change.
Yes, in as far as challenges for young aspirants is concerned.
I stand to agree. There are so many challenges, especially for the young people. I vied in 2022, and just like my colleague has said, for women, if you look at right now, the people who are in the government, we don't have young women in the government, and not even in political seats. We don't have, actually, 0.1%, those who represent us. Why? We only see the big features in the picture, but the young people, they are not represented. That means there is a lot of challenges, one of them being like, are you married? So if you are not married, does it mean that you can't be a leader? So that is one. Number two, the resources. It is totally a cutoff for the young people. But putting into consideration that we have people who have made it, what I would like to urge the young people, come out boldly. I also stand to agree that as the young people, we have also failed because hatujitumi. Let us go on ground, talk to people, and also show our capabilities. Because if you don't do it and convince people that you have these capabilities as the leader and convince them, then how do we also expect them to believe in us? Okay. So as the young people, first, it starts with us. And like my colleagues are saying, we have land. We are the future, and the future is now.
Right.
So we are setting as an example, and we can cap that challenge. So no matter where, even if we have the challenges, Fred, I believe we can still do it. We cannot all go for the political seats, but I believe we can have representatives who can act. We have like the likes of Babu Owino, they have shoulders. We have like someone like Serasia, they have shoulders. It is doable. So we are going for it, and even for the women, for the church. You're telling us to go for these positions, then back us up. Okay. Give us platforms. Do civic education. Support us where you can, because that is all we need, and that is what we are asking.
Would you still say this is undue pressure on the young Kenyans to vie for political seats? The same way you said that we're piling too much pressure on the young voter and the youth. Do you feel that even for aspiring politicians, it's too much pressure on you?
No, not it's too much pressure on us, Fred, but we look at historical processes that have been happening in this country. And I was very clear from onset that young people are expected to go and vote, to be on the ballot, but the society is not ready for leadership from the young people. So those are the challenges that young people, again, are facing, because the element of, one, lacking resources, the element of influencing or speaking the language of the people becomes also problematic, because at the end of it all, I said, we young people are really good at activism, but are we really good at playing politics? And politics is a process. Politics is, one day in politics can be 1,000 days in politics, and 1,000 days can be one day. So the only thing that we need to do is learn the game and rig the political system. Because as my colleague says, it is very much doable. We saw the current Bomet women representative, Toto. She was working with the boda boda and bicycle, and she clinched the UDA ticket. So the problem we have political parties that, one, are not ready to give young candidates the tickets. So the young people are pushed to vie independently. And the process of also vying independently is also very expensive, very tiresome, and very unaccommodative. And then finally, the voting system in this country is heavily tied with political parties, the wave of political parties. Like in 2022, in Mount Kenya, the wave was UDA. The perceived wave currently in Rift Valley is still UDA. In Luo Nyanza, Coast, Western was largely ODM. In Ukambani region, it was largely Wiper. So young people are again forced to align themselves with the tribal kind of perception, yet they want to move on to policies and ideologies. So those are the challenges and the processes that we are trying to first eliminate and come out as a leader.
Right. Moses, what's your sentiment with that? Young aspirants.
Yes, I do agree with most of the panelists for the problems they have just highlighted. But let me start by addressing the challenge of female candidates. I'll tell especially female candidates that we have history, where we came from and where we are heading to. The issue is not all about them complaining most of the time. And let me tell you, in now the present society, the most irredeemable people, in fact, in the society are not women, are increasingly men due to some of the issues. We have few women in this country who rose from nothing. A very good example, Chelagat Mutai. We have Mata Karua, we have Charity Ngilu. These are people who joined the spaces of men. These are people, in fact, they have excelled in their lines of duty. So I'll encourage our female candidates to just tear up, let them gear up there, maybe they play, let them do everything to ensure they also join the spaces fully. But some of the challenges we face, especially as young aspirants. Number one, I'll talk about the political parties, as I just said. By the way, who said that when you are from Luo Nyanza, you must just use ODM as a party to clinch that position? That you are from Rift Valley, you must be a UDA candidate. I think this promotes tribalism. It is time the young people to have that mindset of a national party. And if we cannot form a national party, of course, currently we cannot form that. That was only available in 2024. Today, these political parties, these politicians, people in government will bribe all these Gen Z parties to join them. Okay. So apart from the parties, we have a problem with resources, as she has just said. And like I said before, the Kenya's campaign is more of goons, is more of bribery, and once you don't have a resource, you cannot manage all this. Okay. After 2017 elections, a report was published by Netherlands Center for Multi-Party Democracy in partnership with Center for Multi-Party Democracy in Kenya. There are some of the areas like Nairobi, Kisumu, and Mombasa, where if you want to be an MP to run a successful campaign, you need not less than 50 million. Where am I going to get these? And when you have a look at how we divide this 50 million, a lion's share of this 50 million is about bribery. We have a mindset in the society that a good leader is someone who gives you money. And this is why, in fact, we complain about corruption. Okay. You don't expect somebody to use $500 million to be a governor in Nairobi, and you don't expect them to be corrupt. Okay. At the end of the day, when they give you that 500 shillings you want, that is the road you are consuming.
Okay. Thank you, Moses. And in a short while, I'll give you about 30 seconds each for your final comments, talking directly to Kenyan youth. But for you, I have a minute and a half just to comment on young aspirants.
Sure, friend. I can say that people vote their identity. And it is high time as young people we realize that we have an identity as young people, because what we are identified with is our young age. And if we are identified with as young age and we are identified to be energetic, and we say we are vigilant, alert and informed enough, then that identity, I think, must stick also to the ballot box. I think the most challenges that I encountered during my 2022 running as a member of parliament is now political financing, and of course now also social capital, because you have political capital and social capital. And the social capital now becomes with the people. You realize that there are people in the areas or rural areas who are key supporters of maybe the president or a political party. And as a young person, you might not be able, because I just came from the university, I was not able to build up such a kind of attire. And of course, I realized how significant it is to have such kind of people in your rural areas or in your polling station. Also now the political capital a young person only needs. I think if we really need to change also the political financing of this country, a young person must, of course, you only need your own logistical means to get to where the people are and also to facilitate your political team. And not necessarily for voter bribery, because where these people, they are actually trying to beat us, it's when it comes now to money used for voter bribery. And this is not money that has been budgeted for. This is money that have been corrupted from our systems, that have corrupted our system, that have rigged our system, and that have, of course, corrupted our system. Another challenge that the young people are also facing, even now, is also a unified or a formula structured political messaging. We do not have a unified political messaging, and that's why you'll find that, like the government, of course, it always have a unified political messaging, have a structured political messaging, and such kind of harmonized political messagings also built up the political issue that we are championing. As young people, personally, through the National People's Guard, we are championing against corruption, and we're also championing for the tea farmers, especially those that are coming from the east and west part of the country. And as young people, we have young people now in the teas, we have young people in the agriculture, and we cannot forfeit to, of course, participate fully in those sectors. Okay. Let us not just be seen in activism and, of course, in mandamanos as young people, but we have every and each sector that we need to speak to. Last time we had the Gen Zs or the young people in education who came to lamented that say that they are being treated as, as not part of the professionals in teaching, and they needed to be recognized in the senior in the CBC, the senior school. So those people also, as they came to lament, it is up to us, the young people in politics, to champion for them, to advocate for them, so that they can be recognized and respected as professionals.
Because of time, allow me now to give you each about 30 seconds, because we are really out of time, just for your final comments. And this one, what we do usually for the youth perspective is ask you to talk to the youth directly. Just for 30 seconds. We start with you, James.
So far, we've not excelled a lot because we don't have a leader. It's about time we think about having a leader or a committee of leaders or a party or a group of parties that represent the young people. Secondly, the concluded by-elections are an indictment to the young people in that we did not show up to vote. So we need to ask ourselves if our political energy is just theater. We are good at hashtags and we are good at theme and at memes and TikTok posts. We must stop treating politics like a TikTok weekend challenge. We must organize ourselves, we must do civic education, we must show up to vote, and certainly we must stop treating politics like it's past time, and we must shift our mindset from activism into politics, because that's the missing gap.
Thank you so much, James. Ben, you go next.
I would encourage all the youth to vote for the youth, because I know we have a chance. For instance, if you look at presidents like Ibrahim Traore, look at Mali, Senegal, and other countries, those leaders are doing good for their countries. So I'm calling out all the youth to register as voters, to support their own, to drain the swamp, because right now we need new leadership, fresh leadership, a fresh mindset, innovation, integrity, etc. And also we have a political party that has more than 3,000 aspirants, and some of them are sitting here with us. And we are calling the youth to support the new parties that belong to the youth, not to follow only the predominant parties that were formed in the 1980s, and run with the youth, support the youth. Me, as the incoming governor of Nairobi County, Dr. Ben Gigi, I seek your support. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Ben. Lynette, you go next.
I believe we are the change for tomorrow. And Kenya is a beautiful country. May we rise to build this country to be a better country that everybody will be yearning to belong to. Thank you so much.
Virginia, thank you.
Langata incoming 2027. For youths, let us come out in numbers. We should not fear. We cannot all be in the political space, but I believe our voice and also our support for one another, it's a big change come 2027 to have our space and also negotiate on the table as we are on the table, not outside the table. Kindly take your vote, cast it on 2027. Your incoming MP, Langata constituency.
Thank you, Virginia. Moses?
Thank you very much. To my fellow young people, Malcolm X said, use the ballot to give yourself freedom, or they'll use bullet to give you freedom that you want. The same way they've been doing over the years. You, my fellow devoted citizens, you have a responsibility to change your destiny. You are the CEO of your life. Choose what to do. You have a responsibility. The Constitution gives you that political willpower of changing leadership in 2027. I wish you all the best as you choose leaders. Choose leaders of manifesto, not of property. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Nick?
One, I repeat, politics is war. And the victorious warriors win the war before fighting it. And the process of politics is not fair. Or you cannot, your enemy, in politics you don't wait for your enemy to be fair. Because success belongs to those who are prepared and not naive. Okay. That's what I want to tell our young people. And finally, let me congratulate the very many people who are graduating today in our universities as they are coming to this regime of probable suffering. Let me first congratulate my very good friends, Joanne Kirigo and Commissioner Ian Mwangi, and wish them all the best.
Thank you. Finally, Castro.
Sure. Before I talk to my young people, and I would like to remind James that we have a presidential candidate. We do have one. Gen Zs have their own political candidate. They have their presidential candidate, and soon we shall be launching him. And anytime young people acted abnormally, things tend to act normally. And normalcy seems to the service. And I want to encourage young people that it is high time that we act abnormally, and we accept to act abnormally so that normalcy can have its path. And I want to encourage young people who are, of course, looking or seeking these political seats. It is not an easy task, but it is something that we can be able to do it, and it is possible that we can win these seats. It is just a matter of persistent and consistent. It's a matter of talking to the people, speaking to the people, and not just talking and over-promising, but at this time, we do not actually need to promise so many things that we do not want to, we cannot achieve, but what we need to tell the people is what we need to restore our country. We need to dignify our country. We need to restore ethics. We need to restore, of course, restore our apparatus.
Thank you, Castro. Because of time.
And our security into this country. So young people, it is our time. And let us rise up. Time is nay.
Gakuna Njima Castro, political scientist and founder, National People's Guard. Nick Mwangi, SG Kenya Hadi Party. Lynette Moke, who's an aspirant for the Woodley Ward seat. Moses Nyanduga, who's a youth leader. James Mulamba, revolutionary. Virginia Wanjiru Gethenji, an aspirant for the Langata MP seat. And Ben Gige, an aspirant for the Nairobi governor's seat. Our panelists this morning on the Youth Perspective. Asanteni sana for your time at TV47. Once again, a reminder, I had 3 vouchers to give out today. Have you answered the question? It's about the Fun Out Kids Fiesta, which is a form this weekend, tomorrow the 6th, happening at the Fun City Gardens grounds. It is the biggest kids fiesta of the season. Families, kids, teenagers, and schools are all welcome. Get ready to play, explore, and make memories at Fun City Gardens. And remember, the entry is absolutely free. But for those who would want to be vendors, vendor spaces are available at different trades. Book your spot today. Simply call or WhatsApp the number 0722-238-988 to secure your slot. Yes, 3 gift vouchers to be given within the duration of this show. Simply answer this question through our social media pages. Who would you bring with you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and why? Who would you bring with you to the Fun Out Kids Fiesta and why? Make sure you answer that question on our social media pages, TV47 Digital on X, it's TV47 Kenya on Facebook and YouTube. And when you answer, please tag the people you would want to accompany you and tell us where you're texting us from so that we may get the vouchers to you as well. It is a Fun Out Kids Fiesta. Thank you so much for your time. So much more happening after the break. Remember, it is International Volunteers Day. We'll be having a short conversation after the break. My name is Fred Ndimuli.